Tracey Martin.
Kia ora. Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Education, how much public money has been spent on land and other physical assets for partnership schools up to the 31st of March 2014?
Order. I'm going to ask the member to repeat that question. It's been interjected from my left that it was unable to be heard.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Education, how much public money has been spent on land and other physical assets for partnership schools up to the 31st of March 2014?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Nikki Kay.
On behalf of the Minister of Education, the Government provided $6.6 million in establishment funding to 5 schools for 2013 and approximately $1.9 million in operational funding for the first quarter of 2014. Around a quarter of that funding is provided for property and insurance in accordance with the Partnership Schools funding formula that was approved by Cabinet. What they have actually spent will vary according to across schools and is monitored quarterly through their reporting. One of the key aspects of partnership schools is that they have more flexibility in how they spend their total funding.
Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
To whom do these taxpayer-funded assets now legally belong?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, obviously I'm answering on behalf of the Minister of Education, but what I can confirm is that there are specific agreements in place with each of the 5 partnership schools. In some cases, I'm sure that they will own the specific assets.
Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
So, in light of that answer, is the Minister able to tell us what ability does the taxpayer have to reclaim these assets should a partnership school close or be closed?
Yep.
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Education, that's a very good question. My understanding is, should a partnership school contract cease prior to the expiry date, the Ministry would work, of course, to recover any unused funding by any means possible and ideally through a negotiated agreement. In terms of issues around land, etc., that would go through a commercial process. Any course of action taken will depend on the circumstances contributing to the ending of the contract.
What does that mean?
Supplementary? Supplementary?
Order. Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
Can she assure the public that the funding for partnership schools on a per-student basis is at no more favourable rate than mainstream state schools?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Education, I think this is a very good question as well. I think it's very unhelpful. I have seen comparisons of a per-funding student basis between state schools and partnership schools. The whole point of these schools is that there is an establishment phase. That means we will be spending more money in that establishment period. But also, it's very important to realise that just like any other school that is being established, they won't reach their maximum role necessarily in the first year. What I think is important is that we give these schools a fair go and we realise that actually they're dealing with some of our most disadvantaged students, and so in the first instance those comparisons are very unhelpful.
Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
So can the Minister just clarify in her answer to the 2 previous questions, there is no set process for the reclaiming of public assets purchased by partnership schools should they close, and at the same time the government is currently funding them at a higher level because they are establishing schools?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
No, that is not what I said in terms of both parts of that question. The first thing that I said is that we would seek via the sponsor agreement to work through what had been agreed, but also we go through the same process with any other school that closes. We look at what the commercial situation is around those assets. So there is a set process. It's the same process that we go through other schools. It's just a little bit more complicated because there are sponsorship agreements. In terms of the second issue, I've said I think it's very unhelpful to compare a per-student basis because, yes, they are in an establishment phase, and also the whole purpose of partnership schools is there is flexibility around what those funds can be used for, so comparisons are very unhelpful. But I think what I would say to the member is I think what you can have confidence in is that they are on track in terms of their establishment roles, and that when you look at that overall basis, when they get to that the maximum role, we're very confident of the investment that we're making in these children, some of our most disadvantaged children.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Do the sponsorship agreements for partnership schools allow the Crown to recover capital from those schools in the event that they cease operating prior to the end of their contracts? If so, which clause allows that?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister on behalf of the Minister for Education, I don't have all of those contracts on me, right? But what I can say is the advice that I have had is should a contract cease prior to the expiry date, the Ministry would look to seek to recover that funding by any means possible, ideally through a negotiated agreement.
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
In light of the Minister's previous answers that partnership schools are not being given priority in terms of education spending, how can she explain that at least one of the current partnership schools is funded at a level to allow a 1:9 student ratio, while mainstream state schools have a prescribed ratio of 1 teacher to 27.5 students?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Education, I don't agree with the first part of the question that the member, what she said in the first part of the question. The second thing that I would say, though, is we've been really clear, actually, that the whole benefit of bringing innovation into the system is to enable these schools to sometimes, for very disadvantaged students, do different things, have more teachers per student if that's what the school thinks is best for those students. We are very proud of the fact that we are helping some of our most disadvantaged students, and we need a flexible model to do that.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. Point of order.
Point of order, Tracey Martin.
I seek leave to table a speech by Hekia Parata on the 16th of May 2012 outlining the ratios for schools.
That speech will be on the web and available for all members. Question number 10, Jonathan Young.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Conservation.